Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning. Um, Today's topic will be on chapter 7, which is individual factors, moral philosophies, and values. If you remember correctly from the previous lesson, the previous chapter, we've presented ourselves with the framework of understanding what uh, what factors that organizations what factors that influence how organizations treat uh, ethical issues or problems. Um, we've identified several of them. One of them is ethical issue intensity. The second one was individual factors. Third one was organizational factors, and the fourth one was opportunity. Okay, so that was from last lesson's framework that we've looked at. Okay, so today we'll be looking at we'll be zooming in into the individual factors, and particularly we'll be looking with regards to moral philosophies and values. Okay, because there are other sub factors within individual factors such as nationality, age, but those factors are quite simple to understand. But one of the big factors that will require some further investigation will be moral philosophies and values. So by the end of this chapter, you should be able to understand how moral philosophies and values influence individual and group ethical decision making in business. Compare and contrast the teleological, deontological, virtue, and justice perspectives of moral philosophy. Discuss the impact of philosophies on business ethics. Recognize the stages of cognitive moral development, and introduce white collar crimes as it relates to moral philosophies, values, and corporate culture. Okay, so first of all, let's try to define what we mean by moral philosophy of an individual. Okay, so moral philosophy refers to the specific principles or values people use to decide what is wrong, right, and what is wrong. Okay, so going back on the business ethics, the business ethics decision, intention, or behavior is influenced by individuals, individual factors, and an individual will uh, will have a bearing on the organization because of their individual's own moral philosophy. Okay, so the individual's own moral philosophy is the specific principles or values that they use to decide what is right and what is wrong. How do you decide on what is right and what is wrong? Is based on your moral philosophy. And people uses moral philosophy to determine how they settle human conflicts, um, conflicts in human interests. How these are settled is based on moral philosophy, and people utilizes moral philosophy to optimize the mutual benefit of people living together in groups. Okay, so how they manage people in groups, their conflicts, how they get to share the same resources is based on moral philosophy. Moral philosophies can often be used to defend a particular type of economic system, such as capitalism, and individuals' behavior within these systems. Um, there are several types of economic system, such as capitalism, socialism, communism. Okay, and these economic systems um, are sometimes they are sometimes supported by the various moral philosophies. But moral philosophy, there is not one moral philosophy that dictates the economic systems, but there are several moral philosophies that looks at ethical issues differently. For example, in the by Adam Smith, who is one of the researchers with regards to capitalism. And so he is also considered the father of free market capitalism. Believe business was and should be guided by the morals of good people. Some managers view profit maximization as the ultimate goal in capitalism. Okay, so in capitalism, profit maximization is usually the main ultimate goal. And economist Milton Friedman supported this viewpoint, contending the market will reward or punish companies for unethical conduct without the need for government regulation. And economic freedom, which is a concept based on self-ownership, the right to choose, voluntary exchange on open markets, and clearly defined and enforced property rights. So in the economic system, value or moral is oriented towards economic value. So deciding whether an act is ethical or not depends on whether an act gives out economic value or it doesn't give out economic value. Okay, and that is one when economic system becomes the basis of ethics. So it's associated, or economic value orientation is associated with various values quantified by monetary means. And according to this theory, if an act produces more economic value for its effort, then it should be accepted as ethical. Okay, whether or not that is correct is a different story, but this is one view of ethics. On the other hand, idealism is a moral philosophy that places special value on ideas and ideals as products of the mind. And realism is the view that an external world exists independent of our perception.